Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu pakhairagale ni hao chunashumme washmale. Hi, Gonzalez, Guten Morgen, hola, boyo, privyet, kaifahal. Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasal, marhaba. Buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, bhalli kare aya. Hosh galden and ayasayo, khuyamora, chivato, chihaljot, kalimera. Khairutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Ms. Haja Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Haja, Assalamu alaikum, kaisi hain aap?
Walaikum assalam, thank you so much for introducing me. So today happens to be 28th of May and we are observing Yawm-e-Takbir as of today. So today on this day back in 1998, Pakistan conducted the nuclear test and became the first nuclear power in the Muslim world and the 7th in the worldwide. And it is very much essential and important to have standing deterrence when it comes to our country's defenses. And this is something that has been also ordained by Allah in the Quran, where there talks about the standing horses. And that is a reference towards how it is essential in order to have a peace, you need to prepare for the war, and which is a very old saying, very old axiom. And why not we take a look at the package that was made by a correspondent. So go ahead, take a look. And I think we are going to have the visual representation, and let's go and have a look.
All right, let's go.
The regional situation at the time was on the edge. India, Pakistan's neighbor and arch enemy, had just conducted 5 nuclear tests. Pakistan, which had already followed the policy of staying away from the arms race, faced a decisive moment. The PMLN government faced immense international pressure and threats of sanctions if Pakistan responded to Indian tests. The entire world was watching Pakistan and offered wide range of incentives if it decides against conducting its own tests. The situation at home was different. If Pakistan doesn't respond, the fragile balance of power in the face of belligerent India is permanently tilted. Pakistanis wanted government to respond. They waited with bated breath. But behind the scenes, a lot was happening in Pakistan. It is important to note that India had already conducted a nuclear test in 1974. The government, fully cognizant of the economic cost, decided it was time Pakistan maintained balance of power in the region, once and for all. A team of highly determined scientists was up for the job. The place for the tests was chosen. The entire operation was shrouded in secrecy. Pakistan also faced another challenge. It cannot simply conduct a nuclear test. It had to be stronger and bigger than its enemies. Then on May 28, 1998 at 3:15 p.m., Pakistan detonated its nuclear weapons in Chalgi, Balochistan. In response to India's 5 tests, Pakistan conducted 6 nuclear tests. Any doubt about Pakistan's seriousness in its defense was removed. 28 May 1998 restored the balance of power in South Asia. Pakistan's nuclear deterrence prevents India, now even more hostile, from having any doubts about Pakistan's capabilities to defend its territorial integrity. This is Ali Andaz reporting for PTV World.
Thank you so much, Ali Andaz, for such a comprehensive report as well. And for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, the then leadership, the political leadership, and obviously the leadership of the armed forces truly deserve a big round of applause as well. Because whenever we will talk about 28th of May 1998, ladies and gentlemen, because on that day, Pakistan actually became the first ever Muslim country, as Haja mentioned, to actually attain a nuclear power. And this is for defense only. I think this is something which everybody needs to remember. Pakistan has always vowed to have friendly relationships amongst its neighbors, and may it be anywhere all over the globe as well. So congratulations. And Yawm-e-Takbir in English does mean the day of greatness as well. So it's a great day today, and why not start it with some great conversation? So Haja, most of the time, you know, whenever we're working together or wherever you go, you teach too as well. What is the sort of environment that you feel is out there for women to work, may it be business, may it be job, may it be anything related to any other field?
Right. Thank you so much for asking me this question. And I generally feel that I have been blessed, because generally the environment that I have been facing is, alhamdulillah, safe environment, and that is why I'm coming out. And when we talk about particularly women working in South Asian cultures or particularly Asian cultures, so we need to also explore the notion of honor that is linked to the safe spaces, right? So a lot of time we do see that women are not allowed to go outside of their houses because of the notion of the honor, right? right? They feel that the spaces are not safe outside their houses, and that might be risky to the concept of the honor, which is such an ingrained part of our social values, of our society, of our system. So how to navigate through that very trendy waters, I would say, of honor, of the social safety, safe spaces, and again, it all links to the women empowerment. And we're also going to explore some very nuanced concept of the glass ceiling, because especially in the West, if you see the corporate culture, especially if you see how multinational corporations are working, after a particular post, after a particular position, women cannot rise to the higher ranks, right? So now there are lots of conversations where there are cases being discussed where women have reached higher, and when particularly when we discuss about the entrepreneurship or the startups, they are run by the women businesses, they are run by the women only staff. But then again, there's a lot that needs to be done, there are lots that needs to be covered, and we do have lots of particularly inspirational cases from within Pakistan where women are working, and they're not just working, they're also making us a lot more prouder. So without any further ado, let's explore the delicate intricacies of the safe spaces, the notion of the honor, women empowerment, and also women in the business. So without any further ado, we are very glad that we have been joined by someone who happens to be a very inspirational lady. She happens to be Sadaf Asim Abbasi. She is a motivational speaker. She has her own, she is also the CEO of the Eatria. She has her own business, and we are going to explore her journey and what were the challenges that she encountered as a woman in this business. So assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
It's so good to be on your show, Hajra and Shahzad. Yes, amazing.
Thank you so much for joining us. And it's likewise for us to actually have, when we talk about women who actually can influence a lot of women out there as well, I think this is certainly what we do over here at PT World and World this morning. So you obviously will be that one figure where a lot of girls, women will be taking inspiration from you today as well. So let's get started with your own story. So you are wearing a lot of hats, may it be the chamber, may it be Eatria, may it be being an entrepreneur. Let's get started with who Sadaf Asim Abbasi herself is.
So I'll actually start with what an entrepreneur is.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur is a person who has innovative ideas and who wants to explore and who's ready to take risks.
Okay.
So I think I was born to be an entrepreneur. Okay. When I was younger as well, I was so creative in so many ways. I wanted to do everything, literally, practically. I wanted to be in the debates, I wanted to be in the stitching class, I wanted to be in the gymnastics, I wanted to do every little thing, and that's what an entrepreneur is about. Likewise, my name is Sadaf Abbasi, and I got married a bit early, but I thought that, I need to study and I need to become something in life.
True.
And when I started, when I was studying, I had my son and then I had my daughter, but I did not, I did not feel that my life ended. Actually, I think my life actually started.
Yeah.
And I started exploring different things. When my kids started going to preschool, I went to Behbood as a volunteer worker there, because I thought that, I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste my life. So, when I used to drop my kids to the preschool for 2 hours, I used to go to Behbood, help them out and everything.
And this is, this is the exact reason why we've initiated the conversation from here. Now, most of the time we've seen women, either it's going to be circumstantial for them to kind of go and get, some work or probably get a job for themselves, or either they're women who just want to do something nice with their life and probably have impact on their entire family. So how was it for you? Was it circumstantial?
I think every single person who comes on this earth has a duty to give back to the society. Whatever way it may be, you can be a social worker, you can be a doctor, you can be a teacher, you can be a host. You guys are sitting here doing amazing job, You are spreading awareness for so many things to people. That's the way life should be. A life without meaning is, I think,
so you basically were looking for meaning, right?
Yes.
And so you started with Behbood, and then how did it go, you becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, and then, my kids were going to school, so the rest of the time I was spending with them. When they were a little older, I thought, I had all the time to myself, and my third daughter came up.
Okay.
And that is when everyone said that, okay, now you'd be very busy. But actually, that was my turning point in life.
Okay.
And my kids were growing up, and my daughter and son were getting ready to go abroad. and they said that you will have an empty nest syndrome, because I was a very hands-on mother, you know. I feel that your kids need your time, quality time.
True.
And everything. So when they were leaving, honestly, I thought that I would be very lonely. I had a passion for cooking, you know. I was the director for investment in my husband's company. That was Green Tree, because he felt that I had a, you know, good eye for investment, you know. So he kept me as his director in his company, and that I was, you know, just being there. But cooking was my passion. And my daughter actually inspired me, and she said that, you know, Mom, we'll be going abroad, and, you know, you'll be like a lost chicken looking for your little chicks. So what are you going to do? I said, nothing, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I started a home-based takeaway. And I introduced Burmese Causeway in the Islamabad market. I thought that that was something that was missing. Fortunately, I got great response. I had returning customers. The American Embassy saw that page, that particular page, and they gave me a Fulbright scholarship on that. And they said that, you know, we need entrepreneurs to come and, you know, do this course. And fortunately, it was COVID, and, you know, I had the time and I could do it online. So I remember I used to sit down while my son was graduating. He was also in Pakistan. We were sitting together at night and studying, and he used to keep an eye on me that, Mom, are you doing your work properly? And I used to tell him, you do your thing, I'm doing mine.
But Ms. Sadaf, when we talk about the women empowerment, and you had a very amazing journey where you talk about that how you did not want to sit idle and you wanted to utilize your potential and polish your skills. This is something that I feel is very ingrained in our generation, because we are different from our parents' generation, right? We have a lot of exposure towards the information, and there's a zeal to work out there and not to just sit idle, right? So when we talk about the journeys, when we talk about the woman entrepreneurship, and I'm pretty sure it must be fraught with the challenges. So when we talk about your challenges, so what were your Alhamdulillah, you got a great response. But I'm pretty sure as a woman, you might be connected to a lot of other, or networking with a lot of other women who might be in your field. And particularly when we talk about their challenges, so how do you explore the notion of the honor and the safe spaces and the woman empowerment in this entire journey?
So Hajra, whenever you are out there to do business, there will be challenges there. There will always be challenges. There will be difficulties. There will be, you know, easy times as well. You have to know how to manipulate those things. You really have to know how to sail through your challenges and how to, you know, grasp opportunities. That is what makes you an entrepreneur. You have to be smart. You have to, and okay, sometimes you make the wrong decision, but it's always better to make a wrong decision than to make no decision
It's a
at all.
learning path, right?
It's a learning path.
Right. Failures are your greatest teachers.
Failures are your greatest teachers. And I think, you know, as far as I know, unless and until you fail once, you are never ever going to be successful. Look at the KFC owner. I mean, he became successful when he was 60 plus. So I mean, you know, I think age is just a number. You should never ever say that, you know, like now, when we were younger, I think the difference that I feel that when we were younger, parents thought that, you know, if you did not start your career at the age of 22 or 23, your life is over.
It's exactly how our parents used to tell our daughters, you know, bete, agar 25 saal mein shaadi nahi hogi na, to mushkil ho jayegi, shaadi nahi hogi. You know, so I think everybody needs to kind of change around that notion as well, because that's not something which exists today. Parents are investing on their children so that they could study more, so that they could actually be standing on their feet as well. Now, in addition to this, you know, where you said that, you know, that you always had an eye to grasp opportunities. So grasping opportunities and creating your own opportunities are two different things always. How do you think that, you know, when we talk about general masses out there, that they're able to create opportunities, or do you think that we're moving towards that direction? And not even just that, you know, so in terms of women, in that perspective, do you think that they're so well aware of grasping opportunities, or do you think that they really need a little bit of training or education in that bit?
Definitely everyone needs a trainer. Every master has a master.
Yeah.
So do not say that I know everything.
Har sher ko samajh se.
Yeah, those people who say that, you know, I know everything, okay. That's where, you know, the downfall begins.
True.
So I think you really have to listen to the people around you. Every day you're learning. Like I told you, you're learning from your children, you're learning from your servants, you're learning from an entrepreneur. One day I was sitting in my cafe and a little Pathan boy came. I think he was about 6 years old.
Okay.
and he was selling me something. You know, his mother had made those meaty rotiyan.
Yeah.
And he was selling me those, and he said that, you know, one roti is for 30 rupees, but if you get two, I'll give it to you for 50 rupees.
Wow.
You see that little entrepreneur who had that business sense, who gave me a discount already. That, you know, if you buy two, I'll give you. Le le. So, you know, just look at that, you know,
Yeah.
it's amazing how these Pathans, you know, these Chabri wala and all these, the way they train their children. So I think it's a training that you get from your house.
So, and you know what, at this moment, I would love to share this amazing instance which happened to me, once, and that was that, so there was this hawker guy, he was a Pathan guy as well. And, so these channas and corns and whatnot they do. So I was just standing right next to him. I was bored a little bit. And I was having a conversation. I was like, how much money do you make? I was literally shocked that at that point of time when I asked him, he was making more money than I was. So I think it's all about that business idea that you have as well.
And I think they
and
have
never undermine,
They have a lot of local knowledge. They have a lot of local wisdom, which we think that, we can acquire it from the university. So I think, like ma'am mentioned, so you never have to underestimate anyone out there. And the learning is always a cyclical path, and you are always learning. So when we talk about Sadaf, particularly the women and the challenges that they're facing, and the concept of the glass ceiling. So in a lot of corporate sector, you will find that women cannot rise beyond a particular rank or a particular, I would say, position, right? And they cannot reach the highest rank of the CEO or other. But with the entrepreneurship, with the concept of the startups, I mean, these notions are being challenged, and we see that women are owning a lot of business.
Yes.
They are running a lot of business, and one of the example is you, right? So do you think that we still need to have these conversations of breaking those glass ceilings, and when we talk about women empowerment, what sort of conversations we do need to have when we talk about women empowerment?
See, Hajra, we're growing up in a very, in a much better environment than what our parents were going through. Having a leader like Benazir, then having a general like General Nagar. I can give you so many examples.
Fatima Jinnah Sahiba.
Fatima Jinnah.
Yeah, let's start from there. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Fatima Jinnah wasn't really taken that
She
seriously.
was a dentist, though.
But she should have been having a different stature, I feel. But now I think things are easing. I think a lot of
Maryam
equity.
Nawaz, we have an
Yes,
example.
Maryam. Now we have Maryam
Yeah.
Nawaz. You see, women are rising every day. And I think the mindset of men is changing as well. So, we have to thank Allah for that as well, that, our environment is getting better. Then we have to understand what the world is doing right now.
True.
You cannot be secluded to the world. Look at Bangladesh,
Yes.
They are getting so much better, their development is getting so much better because they have included women, in their thing, and they are empowering them so amazingly that they have been given all those opportunities that a regular person could only dream of a few maybe years back, So I feel that now in the environment that we are living, we do need to, their conversations are always welcome and they're very important. But I think that whatever we have right now, let's make the best of it.
Yeah.
Let's grasp it, and let's, make our country stronger.
And
So as a businesswoman,
I think one important aspect that we need to discuss is that, Shahzad, I'm pretty sure you might also be familiar with this, that when we are talking about women empowerment, when we are talking about creating the safe spaces so that women can go out, I think one factor that stands out is the gaze, right, or the male gaze. And I'm pretty sure,
Oogling.
so yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, whenever we are driving, so it's just, if we on a signal, when we are standing, we are not moving, you will find that there are people around you, you are mindlessly staring and then making you uncomfortable, right? And this is the phenomenon I think every woman faces, regardless of whatever she is wearing, regardless of whatever ethnicity is, and regardless
Even
of
if she's in a veil,
Yes,
that's how people will make her feel.
Obviously, I mean, that's why, regardless of whatever she's wearing, right? So, and this is something that we need to counter upon, and I'm not taking from the tradition of the West when we talk about women empowerment or when we talk about the liberty or the notions of modernity. So, if we go to our Islamic traditions, so the first thing that it is talk about, guarding your chastity and guarding your eyes, and this is something that has been enjoined and ordained upon particularly men, right? So whenever you have these conversations, you know, where they're pointing fingers at the women. So I mean, this is the first thing that a Quranic verse says, that you need to guard your eyesight, right? You need to guard your gaze, and that's very much important.
Very well said.
Yes, can you build? On
I
this
think,
conversation?
Hajra, this is an amazing point. Men will look at you and men will talk about you. And I'm sure, unfortunately, same thing happens with them. So I think it depends on person to person. You are working in an environment where you want to be productive. You go out, you work, you know. There would be people who would make you uncomfortable. Ignore them.
Yeah.
Set them aside. They are not productive people. They are just out there to make you miserable, to, you know, just to make you feel bad about yourself.
I mean, if that
Yeah.
happens to be your boss, how do you, you know,
No, but thank you so
untangle
much
it?
for saying that.
Fortunately, Hajra, I'll be very honest, because I was in the women chamber.
Right.
And in the men chamber also, alhamdulillah, I am working with great team right now. I
Alhamdulillah.
think Ehsan Bakhtavari is amazing, such a decent man. Then, you know, Sir Zafar Bakhtavari, Sir Zubair, you know, such
And all of these
amazing
people know how to behave as well. And in connection to this, I think your answer was absolutely fantastic, because imagine that we've been talking about it since decades now. I think where you said that you really need to ignore them means that you actually know that,
Your
you know, it's not going to
value.
have any impact on you or on your personality as well. And for men to do that, obviously it put me in a position where I'm obviously ashamed about all of those men who actually do it. But I think it's the women who really need to kind of have a very clear concept that, okay, if they're doing it, let them do it. And it shouldn't really have an impact on anybody's
If
personality.
you don't
But-
encourage anyone, I
Exactly.
think nobody is going to even bother looking at. I haven't faced any harassment ever, alhamdulillah, and I don't want to, you know. Okay, sometimes.
I wish a lot of women can say that.
Yeah, but sometimes there are people, you know, I wouldn't name them, but they would just send you, you know, just good morning, good night messages.
Yeah.
You know,
And
maybe they don't
forwarded
mean
messages
it. Yeah,
as well.
they don't really mean
Yeah.
it like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it really gets to you that, you know, what the hell are they doing at 2 a.m. in the morning?
True.
And you being married, you know, you do not entertain these kind of things. So I think ethics are missing.
Exactly, it's ethics as well. And then, ladies and gentlemen, okay, you know, so one thing, obviously I agree with you, because you never know who's going to come up and text you at what time, and you know, you shouldn't really be blamed about it. But then at times there are people that the way they present themselves at work is something where other people would know that, hey, you know what, you certainly need to be in limits, and people are trying to be really professional these days.
Yes.
And that's a part of our education as well, whether how we do it. But thank you so much, Ms. Sadaf,
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
with us. It was
Thank you
lovely
so
to be in
much.
Thank you
conversation.
so much. It was
You
great.
definitely are a source of inspiration for a lot of women, men at the same time out there who really want to do something of their own. Please make sure that you take that thing which we say initiative or call out as an initiative. Take that. Unfortunately, if you fall, you know, even if it's a rock bottom, ladies and gentlemen, you'll get back up. Always make sure that you're holding the rope of faith that too tightly as well. We're heading out towards a short break. Once you guys will come back, so we've spoken about glass ceiling, you know, the financial inclusion, the equity for women. Now let's talk about children who might have a learning disability. You know, what should we do for them? Let's do that after a short break. Good morning.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, we were having a very interesting conversation about women empowerment, and Shehzad also alluded to the conversation that we will develop in this particular segment. And whenever we talk about the empowerment, the opposite of the empowerment is disempowerment. So in order to explore and dissect the concept of disempowerment and how it is stalking lots of young children in Pakistani streets, and how can we empower them and make them a more productive citizen of Pakistan, we are going to develop this conversation further. And not just that, we are also going to talk about a lot of neurodegenerative disorders that are nowadays on the rise across the globe. So we find there are lots of diagnoses of the autism, of the all of these learning disabilities like dyslexia and whatnot.
Down syndrome.
Yes. And how to particularly deal with the kids, or how to be more sensitive around their needs and how to deal with the parents who have kids who are suffering from these sort of disabilities. So we are further going to develop it and talk about it. So we are very glad that we have been joined by someone who has just flown from the London to Pakistan here, and she will talk about her own initiatives because she has her own institutes running. This is called Dream Children Rehabilitation and Autism Center, and that was established in 2016, and most of her activism is based in Multan. So we are very glad that we have been joined by Ms. Shaista Bano. She is the social and disability rights activist. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much, Ms. Shaista, for coming to our show.
Walaikum salam, and thank you so much for having me, and I'm so truly
Jazak.
humbled for your kind words indeed.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Jazakallah
It's wonderful to have you over
Jazakallah
here. And you know what? That you are the first person, you know, who actually flew from outside Pakistan, and Hajar didn't ask for chocolates.
I mean,
It meant I was not going to mention about it, but
Yeah.
I was having a jet lag, so that's why, and I talked in that.
he's just covering his, he's
Yeah.
just covering his own, you know. I mean, not
I'll
I'm
buy-
sorry,
I'll
I'm sorry,
buy the
sorry,
chocolates
no.
from here.
No,
inshallah.
you are our guest.
It
you
was
are
on
our
a lighter
guest.
note, it was on a lighter note, yeah.
I know this thing.
And so now, Ms. Shaista, let's build the conversation on particularly your activism, and when you're very passionate about the child abuse, and we've seen that children who are suffering in the streets, who are left out, and they have to fend for themselves, right? And we've seen particularly on the signal, so there are plenty and plethora of the kids who are begging out there, and they should be in the schools, right? This is their fundamental right, and this is the right that Constitution has granted them, right? So, I mean, what sort of a work are you doing, particularly when we talk about the child abuse, and how are you empowering kids out there?
Yeah, so you are bringing to the surface so many problems and so many issues, because we are working on disability, but it's all starts that for serving humanity, because when we'll be having a concept of humanity which is very basic but a very powerful concept, and the selfless act which we have been, which anyone is doing, this is rooted in kindness and compassion. So if you people, if we all are, are showing kindness and compassion, so we can overcome all these problems, right? And you see, Islam is based on two basic principles. What is that? The worship of Allah, and then the service to mankind.
True.
So unless and until if these two principles, what I think is that are not implemented and not in, put into practice, so we can't fulfill our duties, true duties. And we are raised and we are born with this thing. And when we are talking about our holy prophet Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is a role model for humanity, and he is the Rahmatul Alameen. So what do you think? We have been raised with all these things. So it has been inculcated in us. So, but it's all the matter of understanding and perception. So unless until we take the humanity in this way, we could not resolve all these problems. How could we show that kindness towards all this underprivileged society? So as we are working on the disability, and one thing I would like to tell you, that I was just reading this, that highest number of children are out of school, which is the highest number in the world in Pakistan. So these are the normal children, but if you talk about the disability, which is already very invisible.
And that's exactly where I wanted to direct this conversation. Thank you so much for bringing us to this point where, let's direct this conversation towards what are the statistics. For example, if out of school children, there are 22 million children out of school. Now, when we talk about children who are disabled, unfortunately, children with Down syndrome, children with learning disabilities, or probably children with the autism spectrum disorder, where do we stand in our country?
Yeah, this is truly a very right question. So first of all, the data, which is a statistical data for this disability, is very invisible because they are already excluded. So and I always say this thing, that our data, this statistical data of the disability is very structurally flawed. So they say that 6.3% people in Pakistan are disabled, but I think that it's much higher than that.
Yeah.
Because you know, if you see the people, they even hide their children, they hide these disabled children and disabled people at homes. So there is no statistical data. But now I think with the social media and with this, you know, technology, which the digital media is now, so the people are having an awareness, and the awareness is being created. I always, on my behalf, I always give a talk on all these things, and we have been working in South Punjab. That's as you have introduced, it's a non-governmental organization, PILU, working for underprivileged children with special needs, and we are working on autism, spectrum disorder, Down syndrome, and cerebral palsy, and it's all the rehab center, the complete
And
rehab
I think
center.
one of the things that stands out in your conversation, particularly when we talk about these neurodegenerative disorder, is that, for example, in dyslexia and autism, the symptoms are not very visible, right? So it's a very stealthy sort of a condition or a disease, I don't know how to call it, that penetrates, and for example, if someone has a cancer, he or she displays particularly physical symptoms, but you can't find it that, right? And then again, there's a lot of stigma that is attached with that, and parents do not accept the fact that their, you know, kids have a sort of a disability or they're differently able in that sense, right?
Yeah, they are, you have used a very right phrase, differently able children. And you know, when you are talked about autism, it's a very, the child seems to be normal, but when he comes and he acts and he behaves, then it seems, but there are lots of myths which are attached with this. So the parents they are having a lot of fear. There are a lot of fear not to, you know, bring them to the for the professional treatments, because it's a public stigma. It's a society stigma. Why? I would tell you in a very simple words, because the people, they think that they are the, what could I say, they are the useless objects. Not even the human, they are useless objects of this, and they are not having this awareness that they could be the productive member of the society if we can work on them. So even working with them is prohibited.
Right.
By their parents or by the society. So that's why this is a dilemma. So we need to resolve it. We need to, you know, create an awareness. We need to raise an awareness that these are not the useless objects. They are the human beings, and we can make them productive. In general, I'm generalizing these things. So we need to know about this perception.
So far, how has been the responses of the parents? I mean, particularly, we are living in Islamabad, right? So this is something, a very core sort of a city, and I would call it that we are living in a very elite sort of an environment. But when we talk about South Punjab and we talk about Multan, I don't know about the awareness level there about this particularly conditions or disorders there, right? And how do kids perform it, and what are the challenges that your journey is fraught with when you deal with this?
Because the notion for me is that, you know, even in Multan, because I have a lot of friends, I see that, you know, Multan happens to be one of the most literate cities as well.
Yeah, it is. But when you are talking about, we talk about Islamabad or Lahore or Karachi, there is a awareness. But the same thing as Shahzad told, that the people are literate, but they don't understand. Even Islamabad and Lahore, the people, they hide.
True.
But it's better than Multan. The situation is better than Multan. But here I see even the privileged ones, they hide there, and the underprivileged, they can't do anything. But in Multan, the situation was, we started working on autism 8 years back.
Okay.
So now I see, on my behalf, on our behalf, on the behalf of organization, we have been creating an awareness, and now the people, they have started coming, and there are other organizations as well. They are working on it. So now there is some change.
So let's divert the conversation towards where, how, you know, most of the times whenever we have had advocates or whenever we have had philanthropists on our show, most of the time they speak about a model which I don't know, you know. So you, as an expert or somebody who's worked in the field, can let us know, do you think an inclusive education model actually works for everybody? May it be children out of school, may it be children with learning disabilities, may it be children who are autistic, and the children, you know, whom we probably, you know, refer to as normal children as well, right?
Or debate between, like Shahzad mentioned, between special schools or again the mainstream schools, because at the end of the day, when these kids graduate out of there, so they are going to be integrated into the society, which has every sort of element. So if you are marginalizing them, singling them out in the special schools, right? So you're not preparing them for the market out there, right?
I would let you know this thing, that when we are talking about the inclusive education, we are talking about, when we talk about the children, the people who are differently able, so we have to see their situation, we have to analyze that at what level are they. are they going to mingle up with the inclusion? If we send them to the inclusion, would they be able to cope there? So we have to see and we have to analyze all these things. Our organization has sent a number of children to the main school,
Right.
but then we have to see the environments. We have to see whether if they would be cope up. The special schools are there where they are the children who they need special education,
Right.
and they are also the children who can go to mainstream school, but they are not.
But is it the children or is it the parents? You know, because most of the times, you know, we get this notion from parents who want their children to go to a school where everybody else's children are going, right? Now, do you think that it's the child's understanding or is it the parents' understanding to know his child better so that wherever, you know, people will be able to help him in whatever conducive environment, they help him there?
It's the parents.
Yeah.
Because the children could not decide on their own, and then when they are differently able children, how could they decide?
Yeah.
But you know, when you are talking about the inclusive education, okay, it's schools. If they are not able to go to the school, but they could be the part of the inclusion, they could be the part of that society normal.
Having the same curriculum as well means inclusive education, right?
Inclusive, they could have the same curriculum, and apart from the schools and the institution, society is the big institution. Even the society, it doesn't let them mingle with the society. If there is a function, if there is some event, they are not treated. वो लेके नहीं जाएंगे, they are not treated. The parents. So the most important thing is not to the inclusive education, but you have to mingle up in the society where there are no like restrictions, like
exactly, and there are no barriers as well. I think it's more about mental barriers. Very quickly, because we're gonna be short on time as well.
Okay.
So I want to direct the conversation towards child abuse as well. You've been doing a phenomenal job. How do you think that we need to raise awareness about this particular issue? Because no matter what, there's no statistics about it as well, but we do come across stories every single day how unfortunately children are being subjected to abuse, may it be domestic, may it be anywhere else, may it be harassment for them as well. How do you think you working in that direction?
Yeah, this is a very hard and hot topic which the parents, nobody even want to talk about it.
वो तो बच्चे को तो लेकिन यार इसके बारे में तो वो बात भी नहीं करते.
If their children are sexually abused, it's a big secret.
True.
But you see, my organization, our organization, and me, we are having a challenges. We are having a challenges when we are doing the counseling of the parents about sexual abuse, because they are the people with which I am. Myself is I witnessed, and evidences are there for in my organization that the people who have been involved in this, they are the very much near and close family members.
Yeah, that's
this
true.
is something
They are
tragic,
enablers, yeah.
and the people they don't want. And I give you one example of this to generalize it. One of the parents were there, and I asked the mother to come because I could not resist this thing, because this was happening in front of us every day. The person was coming to drop and pick the child. So I asked the mother, and you see, I'm now revealing this thing, that the mother knew that thing, and she could not do anything.
Oh my God.
She could, because that was her husband's brother, her brother-in-law.
Chachu यानी कि.
Chachu, her brother-in-law.
Right.
And she cried in front of him, and she said that, please don't even ever ask my husband, or ever tell my husband, because that then he would stop the child for coming to the school. So you see these, how could you, and that was very challenging for me.
So what's
as
the
well.
way around now? You know, how did you kind of get over
we
this
have
challenge?
to raise, we have to be brave, we have to be courageous, we have to be, when we are doing this thing, I always counsel the parents. I always counsel the parents in the very generalized way that please keep an eye, even on the near and dear ones, not just on the servants, but keep an eye and be vigilant about everyone.
I think when it comes to kids, you know, you keep an eye on everyone.
You keep an eye
That's
on
it.
everyone. I always say, because when we are doing already and we have been going through all these challenges, why not to do this, which is also a sadqa jariya for us. And these are so small kids and so delicate ones. So because though if you are a compassionate and you are full of anyone, we could not resist this thing.
And you know, since you know, for all of these initiatives that you've taken, you've been accredited
this
by
is a
the
long story and
PCP
the
as well, and
challenges.
not just that. You know, you obviously it's a non-profit organization. How do you think any individual who's listening to you today can actually be a part of your program if they want to help, if they want to serve the community, if they want to sponsor a child to education? How do you think that they can get in touch with you?
Definitely, they could be in touch, because you have already introduced the PILU organization.
Yep.
And this is a message for all the philanthropists. They come forward in South Punjab, in Multan, and we have been working on disability. And what do you think that in every home, in every second home, there is a disability.
True.
Whether they reveal it or not, there is a disability in the families. So they should understand this thing, and they come forward and you know, make donations, and morally and also financially they support us, and emotionally they support us. At times they don't even emotionally, the people, they don't support us. They say, oh, you are working on disability, you are wasting your time.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think this is something that we need to really talk upon, and we did the programs, and Ms. Shaista, we've seen in particularly in past few years, the rate of the diagnosis for these differently able children, or I don't know how to put it that, or these neurodegenerative diseases.
Neurodevelopmental disability.
Yes, they are on the rise across the spectrum. So I've seen cases in my family, in my neighborhood, in my friend circle. Why do you think that there is generally a rise in those cases? Do you believe, I don't know if there is any research to support this
The
assertion
lesser
that-
attention you pay, the more it gets.
No,
Yeah.
I mean that the mobile phone, do you believe that it's the culprit out there? Because
No, not at all.
No?
Not at all.
Okay,
The people,
sure.
they come, it's not at all. It was always a rise. At that time, 50 years back, 40
Yeah.
years back, there was no diagnosis.
Nobody spoke
There
about
was
it.
no awareness. Even the people, now they don't speak about it. How could it be possible? So that's why now it's a diagnosis. Now
Yeah.
the people are having an awareness. 50 years back, they would say, जी ये तो
जादू हो गया,
पागल है,
जादू हो
जादू है, ये खुद बोलते हैं, because you know there are different
गुनाहों की
signs of
सजा।
autism.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
get aggressive. They are having behavioral problems. तो उन्हें कहा जिसमें तो जिन घुस गए,
True.
तो इसमें तो जिन घुस गए, को पढ़ाओ कराओ कितों इनकी पढ़ाई कराओ, तो इनको वनो इनको पढ़ाई कराओ. ये मैं सराइकी में इसकी बात हुई, the people they understand के वनो इधर पढ़ाई कराओ, तो इधर या कहीं पे उसको वो बना लेते थे कि ये इसे दुआ मंगवाओ.
And I was about to say this as well, you know, for if you have a message, because I have friends in Multan and absolutely love Saraiki. So the only thing that I was able to kind of learn in Saraiki was the counting, and I think it goes like hik, do, tre, char,
जी हाँ,
panch,
हिक,
chi,
दू,
sat,
त्रै,
aat, nau,
चार.
da.
जी हाँ.
But we want you to give out a message in Saraiki
जी
today. So
मैं
whatever.
मेरा बड़ा मैसेज है साउथ पंजाब बहुत बड़ा एरिया है जड़ा के ऑलरेडी भी प्रिविलेज्ड कहनी ते उनदे बहुत सारे फैसिलिटीज जो सेंट्रल पंजाब विच न साउथ पंजाब विच कहनी उवन के साउथ पंजाब दे रिसोर्सेज बहुत ज़्यादा हैं ते उथों सारा काम उता अंब है उता कॉटन है हर चीज़ है ते जड़ा सारा ये अपना शहर है मुल्तान है और मदीनतुल औलिया आखिंदे इतने सेंट्स इन उथा ते बड़ी रिच हिस्ट्री है तुस आओ इत्था इहो जे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बहुत घट काम करें दे फिर तुस आओ बी अ पार्ट ऑफ अस साको आके वो करो साको बिल्डिंग दी ज़रूरत है वी नीड टू सस्टेन आर दिस नोबल कॉज क्योंकि बड़ी मुश्किल है सस्टेनेबिलिटी एट द मोमेंट ड्यू टू द इन्फ्लेशन एंड बी अ पार्ट बच्चों को स्पॉन्सर करें आए इस चीज़ को इनकरेज करें और हमें भी इनकरेज करें कि हमें भी मोटिवेशन दें.
Exactly. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
this
so
wonderful
much.
message as well. And every time you're in Multan, please make sure that you get those champe as well, and not just
जी
that.
जी
that
चाँपे
बड्डे वाली
आप आओ
बोतल.
और फिर we will have चाँपे और एक छोटा सा मैसेज अगर
And
टाइम
snacks as well,
है
yes.
for the parents.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
This is a for the parents कि you are not responsible for your child's situation and don't lose your joy. And you have to because the people say कि ये जी इनकी गुनाहों की सज़ा है तौबा अस्तगफिरुल्लाह तो ये this is just a test and वो कहते हैं ना ला तक़नतु मिन रहमतिल्लाह अल्लाह की रहमत से मायूस नहीं हो ना तो आपने जब when Allah gives you this sort of test तो there is always ease after every hardship he says तो नहीं है. No, so many people are the part of it. So we are a community, and we have to be on this journey.
And I think it's very essential to have a strong support system, particularly when we are facing such kind of situations, and for the parents to network and meet other parents who are going through the same, because you can always learn from their experiences, from their knowledge, and how to particularly deal with your kids, because obviously they are sensitive and their needs are very sensitive, and you have to cater to them in a very specialized way so as to harbor their productivity, as to give them a more conducive environment, and not just to restrict their growth. Thank you so much, Ms. Shaista Bano, for coming here, for having this wonderful conversation regarding the autism, regarding the disability, regarding the differently able. And there's a new politically correct word out there, so they are not disabled, they are differently able, and that's beautiful, because we've seen that how people who were autistic, how people who had these neurodegenerative diseases, how they beautifully contributed towards the society, be it the artists,
They've
be
done
it the
so many
scientists.
wonderful things
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yes.
Einstein, you know, look at
Einstein, he
There's
was
so
mild
many
autistic.
athletes.
He was mild autistic. Yeah,
there's so many
yeah.
athletes. There's so many celebrities that
So
you
we
know
need
who
to
actually work with these conditions.
change our mind. It's all the changing the mind.
Exactly. So
and
thank you so
mindset.
much for being with us. Lovely to
Thank
be
you
in
so much.
conversation
Thank
with
you
you.
for having
everybody
me
who's
as
out
well.
there, if
Stay
you ever
blessed
come
all.
across this statement that unfortunately it's because of your sins, that Allah has punished you. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, they never went to Allah to
Dispel
ask whether
them,
if this
yes.
is something which happened. Please make sure that you
Yeah, the
dispel
more
that.
happy
Get in
parents.
touch with your family, your support system as well, your peers, and make sure that you enjoy. You know, just like Madam said, don't lose your joy. Until next time, look after yourselves. It's a good morning.
morning.
Thank you.